Hi, welcome to Hospitality Live with Rupesh. Each week, we feature an industry leader that will share the latest trends and the best strategies to help you grow. Now, welcome your host, Rupesh Patel.
Hey guys, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Guess what? Today, make sure we're live. The volume is up too loud. All right, guys, guess what? This is episode number 50. Yeah! Number 50. I can't believe it's been 50 weeks since I started this journey, and it's been a journey. We've all been through it, right? Guys, comment and let me know where you're watching from, because I always get excited when I hear people from all over the world tuning in every single week. You guys have been dedicated like I've been. Number 50. Jeez. This is awesome. Guys, I'm excited. I woke up at 3:30 this morning because I have a busy day today. Went to the gym. So it was 9:30 last night. It was 2 minutes before I could cancel my Orange Theory. And I was like, oh, I'm going to cancel. And then I totally forgot. Then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to make it. So I actually said, you know what? I'm going to wake up a little bit extra early because I have a busy day today. And we're just going to get it done. And that's what we're doing here, guys. This episode is number 50, Road to Recovery, how to get more bookings with these tools, these hotel sales tools and hacks that we're going to give away today and share with you, featuring Tammy Gillis. And if you don't know her, she's already been on the show a few times, and she's been amazing to hear and to teach us, right? So I'm super excited about this conversation today. This conversation is for owners, GMs. If you're a DOS, guess what? This is for you. And if you're the front desk associate, this is for you also. Guys, comment, let us know where you're watching from. And let's see who's on from Boston. Guys, let us know where you're watching from. And all right, so let me do a sponsor read real quick and we'll jump on to the show. All right, so this episode is brought to you by smartguests.com. Keep your guests safe with communication tools, marketing tools, operations tools. Smartguests.com offers hotel tools to improve your operations, customer service, and guest feedback. If you want more reviews right now, as you have a low occupancy, go to smartguests.com. Get these tools that are going to help your hotel thrive, help your hotel get back into shape, get back into business. Thank you so much to smartguests.com for sponsoring this episode. All right, let's just pull up where people are watching from and where they're listening from. All right, guys, we have Jersey, Boston, hey, Scotland, I love that. Albany, welcome to the show. Laurel, Maryland, welcome. Jason, Jan from Plano, Texas. Guys, comment and let us know where you're watching from. We have Alabama, hey, welcome to the show. Guys, this episode today, actually every week I talk about a mindset, and this week's mindset, we're talking about not everyone's going to support you. I posted this a few days ago on LinkedIn. And I said, listen, not everybody's going to support you. And what does that mean? That means that you might have this following on social media like I do, or you might just have a few friends, right? Or you might have these connections on within your friend circle, right? Not everybody's going to support you. Not everybody's going to love exactly what you do. And that's a mindset shift when we're talking about kind of getting out of your brain, because for example, if I'm going to post something or I have an offer to sell you and I have 38,000 followers, not everybody is going to support it, which I'm okay with, and we all should be okay with that, because I always say surround yourself by people that get you, that trust you, that want to be around you. But there's also people that, hey, sometimes they're following you on social media because they want to learn what you're teaching, but then also they might be your competition, which is okay too for me, right? But I really like to surround myself with people that I trust, surround myself with people that believe in me. And when it comes to following, I was like, oh, I need millions of followers to make myself feel better. But then I have to think about it and say, listen, I don't need 1 million followers. I just need people that really want to learn what I'm teaching, what I'm passionate about, right? And that's a mindset. And guys, comment and let us know if you believe that same thing. And we have St. Louis, Nepal in the house, North Carolina, Nicaragua. Guys, welcome to the show. Super excited to share today's topic with you, which is how to get more sales. And we're going to give you some sales tools and some hacks featuring Tammy Gillis. She's with Gillis Sales. She's the CEO and founder of her company, and they support dozens and dozens of hotels within Canada and the United States, and they've generated a lot of money here while we've all been slow. And she told me a number. I don't want to give that number out, but she did give me a number like, oh my God, you guys are actually supporting hotels that are bringing business in. And that's what we need right now when things are super slow at our hotels. And we're coming maybe into slow season when school starts. You might be like, oh my God, now what are we going to do? The busy summer travelers now not going to be there anymore because they're going back to school, and people are going back to work, and now we're going to slow down in occupancy. And this is the time where we focus on sales to drive business while we're slow. Our shoulder season, our slow season. For us in Florida, winter's slow. Like these next few months are pretty slow, especially when there's not a lot of things going on and events have been canceled, special events, concerts, a lot of different things have been canceled. So these tools and tactics and hacks that we're going to share today are definitely going to help you. Welcome. Let's see who this is. Oh, it's just a LinkedIn user. And welcome to the show from Midland, Texas. Good morning from Roanoke, Virginia. Thanks, Craig, for listening and tuning in. Guys, comment and let us know if you have a sales tool or tactic that you currently use. And by the way, we're giving away a $50 gift card to smartguests.com to one lucky winner. And let's bring on our featured guest. She's the CEO of Gillis Sales. She is a founder of Gillis Sales, and she has a big team behind her. Tammy, welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning, Rupesh. Good morning, everyone. Great to be here.
Tammy, I think you're one of the only few people that have been on my show multiple times. And the reason why we brought you back on is you're amazing. I've had so many people after the last show, they're like, that was awesome. I didn't know these different tools and tactics and strategies as far as hotel sales. And this is what you guys focus on, right?
Thank you so much. Yeah, we've been in the thick of it with our clients and with our hotels over COVID, right? We provide remote sales support for hotels all over North America. And that number that you were afraid to mention, I'm happy to share.
Okay.
April, May, and June, we actually discovered and booked within those 3 months $1.8 million worth of business across our hotel portfolio.
Wow.
So there is business out there. The pie has shrunk and it is not knocking on our doors. But what we'll talk about today will definitely give hoteliers some hope and how to go about and find that business.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're giving away an exclusive offer that has not even been published to your group today. And lucky, the person that actually wins a $50 gift card to SmartCast is also going to win a free copy of what?
So we just developed a prospecting guide. It's about 15 pages. So some of the tools and hacks we'll talk about today, we actually broke it down by market segment. So we picked the key market segments and we have, here's what it is, here's how you go after that business. And we put it together in a nice infographic document. It has not been released yet. So your viewers, your lucky winners, are going to see it before anyone else.
Awesome. And you know what? Let's give it not just one person. We might give it away to 4 people. So guys, the person or the few people that have the most comments here on this live will be picked as the winner. I'm going to be watching all the different people that are coming onto the show and commenting. So comment, guys, be a part of the show. And if you are going to definitely win. Every week we give away something valuable that's going to help you grow your business, grow your career, and really bring some business into your hotel and try to improve your hotel. So Tammy, let's talk about tools and tactics and why is it so important right now that we need to use these strategies and tools?
Yeah, so if you think about the mindset in the environment before COVID, we were all enjoying a 10-year run of increased revenue year over year. And even though 2020 was going to slow down a little bit in terms of RevPAR growth, we did see an oversupply in a lot of markets before COVID. So some hotels and some sales teams had to hustle more than others. But there were a lot of demand generators to go after. And a lot of sales teams, a lot of hotel owners and GMs were busy just keeping up with those incoming inquiries across all the various channels. They didn't have to hunt. And some people have never sold in this environment of scarcity and lack of demand generators. It's a different mindset and it's a different skill set. And for some, it could be paralyzing. Where do I start? And so today we definitely want to help break down some of those steps. And it's more important than ever before because that pie has shrunk and we are all at the starting line. So who is going to be scrappiest, if you will, to get ahead of the comp set to go look for that business that's out there?
Yeah, and there is business out there. There are people that are traveling to your city, and guess what? You may not be taking advantage of those opportunities that are right under your nose. They're right there waiting for you to capture. And I hear this all the time. I hear hotels saying, "Hey, I just got this business, one piece of business because I did this, right? Or I tried that, or I got out of my fear of them saying no and went out and got it." And that's kind of the wins that you're hearing now, right? It's people just taking extra effort. It's not like waiting for somebody behind the front desk or in your office, waiting for that call to happen. People are out there. Hotels that are the most successful right now are going out there and going to get that business, right? Is that what you recommend?
Yeah, and it's everybody working together. So good salespeople, and we're all salespeople. So I know your listeners could be wearing 10 different hats. When we say revenue management, front desk, GM, a DOS, people on your this call could be playing all of those roles. But the key thing is we have to be curious and we have to start following the breadcrumbs. It is more crucial than ever before for front desk to be, uncovering those leads on the arrivals report. And we'll talk more about that later. But to be curious to say, what's in the parking lot of my comp set? What kind of reservations are coming in? What net am I casting in my backyard of companies that could be traveling that I've never looked at before?
Yeah.
And so some of it might seem like common sense that we're going to share today, but I promise you it's not common practice because operations will always take a priority to sales, and hotels are working with very lean staffing levels. So we have to find a way to carve out a little bit of time for sales so you can bring back more staff and you can ramp up your occupancy.
Yeah, and you have hotels all over Canada and within the United States, and you see almost every single market and where they're growing. What segments are actually traveling right now, especially in the summer right now? And then where do you see it for the rest of the year as far as the
So
forecast?
yeah, some hotels are seeing more leisure business than others this year. I think there's been some disappointing results in some markets in terms of we thought we'd have more leisure travelers. But the market segment, and I talk about this a lot, I post about it and write about it a lot. The market segment that has not stopped traveling is the workforce segment. So you think of transportation, you think of maintenance, you think of sanitation, construction. All of those segments continue to travel. And one of the challenges is there are a lot of hotels pre-COVID that never wanted business from that blue collar, gray collar segment because it was lower rated. But I can tell you right now, those hotels are lining up to figure out how do I get a piece of that business. Hotels that were set up with workforce before, that's kept the lights on for them over COVID, and it's allowed them to ramp up, to 30% or 40% occupancy. So that workforce segment, we're seeing some small groups, very sporadic. We're seeing some wedding groups come back, very small amateur sports groups. So it's important to keep checking your online channels. And corporate and group, we know those are the big segments that aren't going to come back anytime soon. So we have
Yeah.
to fill it in with other market segments.
Yeah, definitely. I know a bunch of people where their kids are playing a sport and they're traveling. It's a traveling team and they're still doing that right now. And I hear a lot of that where kids want to be back on into sports or their parents want the kids to get back into the groove of things and they're traveling. Actually my bookkeeper, she just traveled to Georgia and did a tournament out there and she was there for the weekend, right? So that's business that you could be capturing and it's not even in your local market. It's not in your backyard. It's like actually going out there talking to the sports teams and other maybe surrounding areas. Is that what you're seeing too?
Definitely for the sports market, there are a number of third-party sports travel management companies. You want to be reaching out to them. Those are probably the companies that, March and April canceled a lot of those bookings. So we're following up with those third-party sports companies to say, tell us what that rebooking looks like. What about this sport? Is anything coming back in 2020? What about 2021? They're starting to put blocks in place for 2021. And also reach out to those sporting facilities in your backyard. Get to know those city-run facilities or those privately run facilities. Get to know those people to find out, who are you talking with and what does it look like in terms of when some of those tournaments are coming back. A lot of it is, in terms of this sales approach, it's having a balanced approach to say, who am I going after today that's going to help me for the next, the balance of Q3, the balance and all of Q4. But then there's others I have to nurture and keep warm, that when they return, hopefully sometime in 2021, we're going to be in a good spot to capture that business.
Yeah, and everyone's saying, or a bunch of people are saying, they're getting construction business, government business. There's government still traveling. Jan says 60% of our hotel is teams right now, which is great.
Wow,
and then
that's shocking.
And then medical. Michelle says medical. We talked about medical in the beginning of this COVID, and no one's really talked about it since then because they're like, oh, hotels, now those traveling nurses or traveling doctors or any support staff is now pretty much done and now they're back home. Is that true? Or are they still traveling?
That's a great question. And I reached out to my team in preparation for this just to say, where are we at with medical specifically? And you're right, it had kind of dropped off. But as we've seen spikes around the country, we are reaching out to staffing agencies and companies that are booking traveling nurses again. So if you are in a hot spot or a region, you're probably seeing some medical business come through for that reason.
Awesome, guys! Comment and let us know what segment of travel is actually staying at your hotel right now. I'd be curious to find out. For us, we have a lot of travelers, just leisure business, people coming to the beach or coming to Florida. We also have that construction crew that stays with us every week that we've built a long-term relationship with, thankfully for those guys. And then we've built these small groups of construction companies that, hey, we'll treat you really well. We'll make sure that you feel right at home and safe. And they're coming back to us, and and then a lot of these construction companies talk to each other too. So we're getting a lot of that business, but that's mainly our business right now. It's that leisure travel, the construction, and just people traveling down a major thoroughfare. And we're thankful for that because we have a decent occupancy compared to a lot of people. I know I have friends in Orlando or near Disney, and they're running 10%, 20% occupancy. And at that point, how do you get more business? So let's go right into the hacks and or maybe the tools, whatever you like to go with first, and kind of figure out how we can take these strategies and implement them at our hotel.
Great. And some of them might cross. Some I was like, is this a tool or is this a hack? But regardless, if you implement it, it's going to help, it's going to work. So one of the things, and again, some of these might be common sense, but we work with, hundreds of hotels every day, and it's not common practice. And again, when you're wrapped up in operations, given this pandemic, it might not be top of mind. So one of the things is my favorite tool to coach hotels on is if you're in the CLC program. Pretty hard program to ignore. And this might shock your viewers.
Yeah.
Between CLC and Travel Alliance last year, because CLC purchased Travel Alliance last year, they booked 24 million room nights in the US last year. That's a pretty hard account to ignore. And I'm not aware of any account with that kind of volume. And yes, it's low rated. Wow. And by the way, if you're not in the program, it's about a 60-day wait to get in. Hotels are lining up to try to get in that program. If you're
even now?
Yeah, it's about a 60-day wait.
Wow.
If you have never signed a contract. If you know people, if your brand contact managing CLC can help, that's great to try to help you get front of the line, but it's not going to happen overnight. But if you are in the program, my favorite tool to use is the CLC portal. So a lot of times you're logging in for billing. Two things you want to make sure you're checking on is your check-in score. Making sure it's over 80 is critical, and it's out of 120. So if your check-in score falls below 80, you could be removed from directories and wonder why you're not getting any bookings. So it'll show you the discrepancies if you are below 80. But my favorite hack in that CLC portal is going to the sleep details report. When you go to the sleep details report, a lot of people think that CLC is just set it and forget it. It's all about rate. Hopefully the floodgates will open and I'll see the reservations. You can actually go to the sleep details report and see every company that is booking the CLC rate at your hotel. So of course it has the guest name, but it has the company. That's a lead for you. So here's my recommendation. Run a report, put in a time frame between over COVID, March until let's say end of July. Run a report of every company that has booked your hotel with the CLC rate. And then you want to jump on LinkedIn. And I do this all the time with our clients and say, what is this client coming in town for? And a lot of times they haven't heard of this company because maybe they're a vendor or a supplier to a company in their backyard. You can prospect that company because chances are they're spreading the rooms around the city. And you want to qualify them to say, thank you for your business. Tell me about this project. I would also go back and run a report pre-COVID. And maybe don't cast the net too wide, but let's say run it November to maybe end of February. What companies were booking you then that aren't booking you now? And that's a different conversation. The reason I want you to parse it out is because it's a different conversation. One is giving you business, one is not traveling. And it's a really great opportunity to reach out and say, thank you for your business. We haven't seen you since February. How have you been impacted by COVID? What are your plans for travel for the future? How can we help? And by the way, here's how we're keeping our guests safe. So that is, we find business all the time through that report. So some of you might be saying, I don't even know my login. I didn't know I had a login for you know where you're at using this tool. If you're scrambling for your login and password, but you should be in there every week.
Wow, great. Sleep details report. Okay, great.
Yes.
That's awesome. I think Monique says, wow. She says, wow, sleep details. She also says CLC training will help increase your score. Is that true?
Yes. So you will, if you look at your score, it's going to give you points. And one of them is online training. And it has to be taken every several months. And if you don't, it's great for your front desk to take as well. But it's, 10, 15 minutes. They're easy points to bump your score up.
Right. And then Anna says they have 2 hotels in the market and they won't let us in. What does that mean?
Well, they're basically saying because of the volume of business in that market, they don't need any more hotels. But I say, if you can't get in the front door, go in the window. Find out what value you can add. Maybe you're already getting some room nights for overflow. Maybe you have a better location. Reach out to your brand and find out the volume. Maybe it's because they have, only 500 room nights and they don't want to erode the business that's going into those 2 hotels. But you need to think of an angle because no today does not mean no tomorrow.
Absolutely. And another thing is, when you're talking about hotel sales, it's not just your hotel in a silo and you're on your own in your market. If you see your neighbors and they have hotel or they have a lot of CLC business and their parking lot's full of trucks and they can't handle anymore, guess what? Go out there, I see that your entire parking lot's full. We used to have some parking spaces. Do you have any walks that you can walk over to our hotel, right? And maybe that's an opportunity for you where they are already sold out in their CLC business or they've capped it at a certain number because, it's a lower rate. Then they're like, all right, we don't want to get any more CLC business and they're turning away stuff. This is an opportunity for us to reach out to our partners, our neighbors and say, hey, if you're sold out or you've already maxed out your CLC, we're happy to take some of those and we have plenty of space right next door or wherever, right?
Yeah, and it's like building a business case. If a lot of you are familiar with going into Lanyon or going into Nexus, depending on your brand, and filling out business cases, think of that. How are you going to go to that account manager at CLC and say, here's why. I know you're not adding another hotel, but we have better truck parking that is well lit and provides a safer experience. And we're already getting some overflow. Or we are right off the highway. So this is, you have to be able to sell it through the lens of who their client is, that traveler. So you might have to do a little bit of homework first because everyone's lining up trying to get in the program. So that is one hack that is really important.
That's a great tip. I've written it down. All right. So now the second one is we've done this for years. We've probably done this for 30 years. We do the drives. We wake up earlier than our shift. And when I used to work the front desk, I would drive their parking lots and see where my neighbors or where my competition is getting business from. And it's still viable today. And I can't, we were talking earlier, they're like, the drive around the parking lot is still a hack and it still works. And can you kind of explain the close rate? Because I was surprised to hear that close rate when you were talking about just this one tip.
It's so crazy, right? When we're working with our owners and our GMs, they roll their eyes. Tammy, stop asking us for parking lot checks. But in this time, it's so critical because we're all figuring out who's traveling again. And when I said earlier that we have to be curious, and it's sales isn't a department, everybody owns a piece of it. Driving around at 3 in the afternoon is not going to be helpful. Driving around at 9 in the morning isn't going to be helpful. They leave at 6, they're in early evening.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can get your night audit person, that might be you these days. But whomever's doing night audit, or if you're leaving the hotel early evening, it's really critical. So a couple of things. Look at your star report. What nights of the week are you leaking money? So where are you under indexing on occupancy? What nights of the week? Those are the nights you have to figure out what's staying at the comp set, because what's the alternative? You need to have base. And the way to find that, there's a few breadcrumbs to follow that we'll talk about, but those parking lot checks are critical. So in our company, we measure where the lead source and the close rate for every lead. So whether it's an RFP for a national account, whether it's us in a local search, whether it's bid clerk, whether it is a parking lot check. So we measure all the lead sources to say, what's a percentage of closed won? Because we want to do more of that to get results.
Sure.
Parking lot leads result in a 35% close rate. And you might say, okay, compared to what? Well, think of something like Hotel Planner, which has really low conversion. And I'm not knocking Hotel Planner, but we all know that it's a big network casting and it's a lot of busy work. But Hotel Planner is at 13%. So there's an art and science to sales. And the science part of it, because all of us have limited time, is to do more of what will give you the greatest results. And comparatively, arrivals reports. We talked about this on the last show, Rupesh. You're not, hotels aren't busy. If they're selling 20, 30, 40 rooms a night, we have time to interact with our guests. We know that there's more reservations coming through the OTAs. We don't know why they're coming in on a Wednesday night. They might not be a leisure guest. We have to get the company name and find out why they're traveling. And so when we get a lead from an arrivals report, the close rate is 59%. So if you follow the money, again, when there's no demand generators, where is it best to use your time? Of course, there's a few other hacks we'll share, but working with front desk, working with revenue management, check those parking lots. We have literally moved crews, calling a crew on a Monday and saying, hey, we're next door. We've got this, that, and the other. And they have checked out and moved over to our hotel. It doesn't happen all the time. So let me set those expectations. Maybe they're at the end of the project, but they're coming back in October. So that's how scrappy we have to get. It is, it's not sexy. It's not whining and dining. If that's how you kind of grew up in this business of, shaking hands and kissing babies, this is grunt work. And we all have to work together to get there.
Yeah. What was the selling point or the feature to move that entire crew over? Was there something that they did different? Was there something that they're offering that was not, that was like apples and oranges?
Well, when we called them, we said there were some service issues at that hotel. So the timing for our call was very, very good. And then they said our rate was actually higher, but the client said, I'm willing to move, but I'm not willing to pay more than this. And we did a rate displacement with revenue management. We went back to the GM and said, this is a good deal. And so we were able to actually offer the rate and move the crew. So it was a service issue, but we had to match the rate. No one's going to move for a higher rate during COVID, right? We'd have to take a pretty, we'd have to really be giving something that they're not getting at the comp set.
Yeah, and Riley says, when you're doing the parking lot shops, if you see a truck with a DOT number, use this website right here, safer.sl fmcsa.gov. And I guess you can find out where their company's information is and reach out to them that way. I think that's a great tip. Thank you so much, Riley.
Thank you, Riley. Yeah, DOT. So it's Department of Transportation. If you see those white kind of vans with a DOT number, then it'll say exactly what that company does and where they're from.
That's great.
Yeah,
Thanks.
that's a great one.
Yeah. All right. So we're talking about the arrivals list, and inside the arrivals list, we should be capturing, even if it's walk-ins, because I know a lot of hotels are getting a lot of walk-ins instead of reservations, especially like the select service type properties. They're getting just walk-ins. And so this is your front desk's job or opportunity to capture, hey, what company are you with? And that way it's not just a name, first name, last name, but there's also a company attached. And then go back and kind of do some research, right? Or even ask further questions. And what questions should those front desk associates ask when they're checking people in and they're trying to pry to get business?
Yeah, and we don't want to be intrusive. And I think some front desk folks, again, it's really a training opportunity for hotels, but it's such a great way to be just conversational when you're checking them in and maybe swiping the credit card. The first question I would say, what brings you to town? So you can differentiate, is this a leisure guest or are they traveling for work? And if it is work related, say, so tell me about the project you're working on. In a conversational way, a good open-ended question, or what company are you with? Because we'd love the opportunity to set up a corporate rate for when you come back, so you don't have to shop around online and look for the lowest rate. So really having just 3 good questions at the front desk to set your staff up for repeatable success. And when you're going through, this is something Night Audit can do. I would be absolutely delegating a number of these activities to Night Audit because we are all strapped for time. We all need to own a piece of this. It guarantees future shifts, right? And employment for the rest of us. Go through that arrivals list and look for email addresses. So if they've booked an OTA or if they've booked the bar rate or whatever discount, if there is an email address, jump on LinkedIn. Find out about that company. Why are they in town? We are putting a big puzzle together. And in order to do that, we can't be complacent. We have to be curious and go search for those puzzle pieces.
Okay, so if I find a excuse me, if I find a person that's staying with us, a guest that's staying with us, I find their email address and it's a company, I go to LinkedIn, I pop their email in or their first name, last name, and search which company they're with. And if I can find them and it kind of looks like them, then I kind of tie it up. And then what do I do after that? Do I send a message to them? If I'm not their first connection, like what happens? Because if they're my third, I can't really send them a message, right? At that point, do you buy extra credit with LinkedIn, or what do you recommend?
So the purpose of jumping on LinkedIn, and I would then, if it's an email address, a company email address, is to find out more about the company and try to figure out why they're traveling. So even though it's Mr. Smith, and hopefully you're putting a note on that reservation for front desk to say, hey, looks like Mr. Smith is with this company, ask a couple qualifying questions. You want a bigger piece of the pie. So jumping on the company website tells you, what do they do? Why are they traveling? We did this with one of our hotels a couple of weeks ago, and it was a company out of North Carolina they've never heard of, and they're in the rail. They come in and they fix rail lines or something. And so right away, the GM was like, oh, they're coming here to work on this rail yard. And so the more we uncover, so we then were looking for on LinkedIn, who's the travel manager? Who's a project manager? Going on their website, looking if there's an org chart. And if all of your research doesn't lead to a contact, then you pick up the phone, you call reception. And you say something like, the purpose for my call, it's Tammy Gillis from ABC Hotel. And we've been really fortunate to receive some business from some of your employees. I'd love to better understand who's responsible for booking travel so we can extend that same service to other travelers. So again, it's not a one and done. You might have to make multiple phone calls, but that's just another way, if that makes sense, Rupesh, if that answers your question in terms of how you can follow the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're talking about online resources, and I know we've been through some of these in the past. You talked about BidClerk, and then you also talked about Google Alerts. Now, for the people that don't know Google Alerts, It's amazing for what you could discover when you're sleeping. And kind of explain, Tammy, what Google Alerts is, because we use it every single day. We uncover so many opportunities just from this one tool, and it's free. Best
My
part.
my favorite thing, and you can go down a rabbit hole because your email can blow up with all these Google alerts, depending how you set it up. And I'll get to that in a moment. But so in your comp set, I would be, go to google.com/alerts and sign up for Google Alerts and sit down as a team and say, what are the things, the notifications we want pushed to us? So think of it as kind of a push email. So you're not having to research, and that's what keeps you up at night. Am I missing out on anything?
Right.
So it could be your top accounts. I want a Google alert for any for 3M, for Halliburton, for CLC. I want Google alerts for this specific project, or the city, any announcements with the city, or your competitors. So you want a Google alert for your competitors, or maybe there's some sports facilities that you want a Google alert for. So depending on the demand generators in your backyard, you want to be able to set up those Google alerts. And when you do it, you can actually say, I want it at the end of each day. You can set up folders, because it can be pretty distracting to receive it in real time. And I learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
And Rupesh, you use it all the time, right? You use it all the time.
I
You've
use
got
it every
Google
day.
alerts for your name and your GM's names.
Yeah, I mean, we use Google Alerts every single day. So we put in Google Alerts anytime our name's mentioned, my name's mentioned, the GM's name's mentioned, a salesperson, anybody that's mentioned as far as a staff that gets their name mentioned on reviews or something within our business in the local community, that, or if we're in the newspaper, because we're in the newspaper often, right? Or in an article online. And so we want to know before our like competition knows about it, or before anybody else knows about it. And with Google Alerts, as soon as your name pops up online, Google Alerts is, I guess, crawlers go out there and kind of tell you, say, hey, your name was mentioned on this one thing. Now, there's other people with my name. There's other people with your name on it, which sometimes it might not always work. But hey, I'd rather know before good or bad news gets out there, right? If something happened, and let's just say, for example, anything happened that was positive or negative at your hotel, you would want to know about it first before it hits like the airwaves, or before it hits like the masses, right? And this is an opportunity for you to do some PR if it was negative. And we use every single day, even with reviews. Google Alerts will tell you anytime your name is mentioned in a review with your name on it or with your hotel's name on it, it'll pop up and say, hey, you just got a review on this channel. Click here to go to it. And that way we're not surprised or waiting for that review. It automatically comes to us. And that's why I love Google Alerts.
It's smart. It's smart from a reputation management and also a lead catcher. And it could be, not leads that are necessarily checking in next week or next month, but if there's upcoming projects, it's a great way to stay on top of things.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so the next one is Bid Clerks. What is Bid Clerk, and how can people use it? I know it's not free. This one's not free, but we did give away a bunch of free ones. This one actually costs money, but a lot of hotels are seeing an ROI on it. And so we definitely wanted to mention this because this is like a opportunity for us to gain some business.
Yeah, and the reason we snuck that in there, even though it's not free, is because we talked earlier that it's one of the few demand generators still traveling construction. So we use Bid Clerk. All the hotels that are in our program, we purchase a Bid Clerk subscription. And if it wasn't giving us an ROI, I get the invoice every year. And the one thing I do when our Bid Clerk subscriptions come up for renewal is how much money did it make our hotels? And if there's no ROI by territory, we're canceling it. So this is something, as a business owner, I continue to invest in for our hotels. So it is a subscription. It's annual. Now, over COVID, they may have some flexible payment terms as opposed to paying 1 year up front. And depending on your brand discount, it's somewhere between $600 and $700 a year. You buy your territory. So let's say you're in Orlando. You can actually search, you can cast the net as wide as you like. I don't recommend it. I reckon if you're in a more rural area, you might want to cast a wider net. But if you're in a kind of dense population, I would do up to 10 miles. And it's going to come back with a list of every construction project happening in the next 90 days and 90 plus. and what stage they're at in bidding. It's going to tell you the general contractor, how much the project is worth, where that general contractor is based. So you can say, you don't necessarily know, but hey, do we think based on this project, they have to bring out of town subcontractors that may require hotel rooms? So it's a great tool. And over this time, you can definitely be finding business for 2020.
Yeah,
But you've got to
yeah.
make multiple calls, right? So you might call the general contractor. They were just awarded this massive project. You have to understand, where are you at in the planning stages of this project, because hotels might be way down here and they're still at the early stages of planning. So it may
Yeah.
require multiple follow-up calls.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great tool, and something that if you could afford it and you want to test it out and see if it works. And how do you know if I spend this much money that it's actually going to work? Like, is there like a test, or is there something that they can do to kind of see if it kind of works, or you're just kind of throwing money out there?
Well, before I would put any money against it, we do this in every market we purchase the subscription for. We say to bid clerk, tell us what the market's showing, how many projects are happening in this market in the next 90 days. And if it's minimal, we do not purchase a subscription. There's other ways we can find that business out. So we kind of gauge it and say, you know what, there's 50 projects starting in the next 90 days. This could have potential. Now, 40 of them could be local crews, but man, if we get 5, 6, 7 crews out of that, that's a no-brainer. So
Yeah,
definitely, before you spend any money, get them to come back to you with the numbers.
yeah, definitely. And I think even that local crew that you can contact on Bid Clerk, they may not have anybody that's coming into town, but guess what? During the process of construction, if they have to bring somebody in, and they say, "Hey, you're the GC, and can you recommend somebody local or a local hotel that you would trust?" Guess what? The only hotel that contacted me was this hotel, and that's top of mind. And I love that you can even do that. So that's kind of a
Exactly.
hack right there, right? Where, yeah, they might not buy or they might not be staying with you, but they might know somebody else that knows somebody else, right? That's a huge opportunity. Those things always pop up, right? Business pops up when you don't expect it.
So true. And the thing about that segment is, a hotel is a means to an end. Yes, this is our livelihood and we think our hotel is amazing. But the hotel piece is part of a huge project they have to manage. So if you call them and say, let me do the heavy lifting, tell me what we need to do. We're going to take care of your crew. You've got 20 other things on your plate right now. Let us, who are your subcontractors? We can reach out to them directly. Let's get this going. We'll do the heavy lifting on your behalf.
That's
That's
cool.
music
Yeah.
to your ears.
Yeah. And right now it's really being these ninja tactics. You have to go in and do the work. It's not just waiting on the sidelines to get into the game. You have to be calling. You have to make 100 calls. You have to make 300 calls to get one piece of business. But that one piece of business could change the way you operate your hotel and change the way you are either profitable or not profitable, right? And it's going to be that legwork, that those calls, those emails, that no that we always get all the time. I love when I get no's because it just makes me stronger, right? When someone says no, guess what? And I really believe in it, I'm going to go after it even harder. And I think that's the case when we're talking about sales right now, where it's kind of like, oh, we need to get this businesses. Where do I get it? And it's just not stopping. Like, keep going. If you try this one thing and it doesn't work, go beyond that. Keep trying, because it's always going to come to you if you keep trying, right? You're going to be the winner if you keep trying more than your competition. That's why I always look at it like, hey, as long as you do more than what everybody else is doing, you're gonna win. I don't know if that's the right way of looking at it, but that's what I always think.
You have to out hustle, right? You have to out hustle. And I'm grateful that I learned to hunt. I started in this business in the middle of a recession. So I was never that farmer that was behind a desk and we had all these
Yeah,
leads coming in. Thank goodness that's not how I learned to sell. And so that hustle is what will get hotels out of this pandemic and help them ramp up faster. But it has to be a collective effort, that's for sure.
yeah, 100%. Well, hey, this has been awesome. I know we said we would keep our shows now on within 30 to 40 minutes, so I don't want to drag this on for an hour and a half like we have in the past. And that's going to be that's moving forward. All the shows that we're going to continue doing are going to be 35 to 40 minutes, so you can learn something, get the tools, get the resources, and move on with your day. And guys, if you guys appreciate that, please comment and let us know that this is kind of the structure that we should kind of do these shows where you learn a bunch of things and then you go out and do it instead of staying on a show for an hour and a half and just like, all right, when's this thing going to be done? Because I want to win at the end or whatever. So, Tammy, this has been really awesome. I've written down a bunch of these tips that you've shared, and I know we have to get you on again because there's a lot more we could talk about when we're talking about hotel sales. There's so many different resources. It's not just these few that you've shared today. There's dozens and dozens. And guys, comment and let us know if Tammy's been useful. If you've at least learned one thing, and people are saying, hustle is the key right now. I love that. And guys, I did pick a couple winners, and we're gonna go ahead and announce those as soon as we find out what Tammy's all about and what Gillis Sales is all about. Tammy, please explain how people can work with you and where they can find you on social media.
Oh, thank you, Rupesh. This has been great. And there's no shortage of hacks for sure. So if there's any questions, follow up after. So our company is dedicated to really helping hotels and making hotel sales accessible and achievable. So we provide remote sales support all over North America. We work with every major brand, and we have a skilled remote team all over North America. And so at a time when a lot of hotels have had to furlough their sales teams, we can actually be that bridge. And at a fraction of the cost of bringing it in-house, we can help you ramp up your occupancy and be that bridge so you can start bringing people back. So if that's of interest, I'm on LinkedIn, and our website is gillissales.com. And all of these things we're talking about today is exactly, we're the team that hustles, we're the hunters, and we're finding business every day on behalf of the hotels that, trust us as their lifeline over this difficult time.
Yeah, and hey, we appreciate this, Tammy. We're gonna have to bring you for another episode here in the next couple of months. And I know a lot's changed. Every quarter things change, and that's why I love bringing you on, because you know the insights. You see what hundreds of hotels are doing right now to bring business in, and that's why I want to continue bringing you back on, because you're like that rock star that just can reinvent themselves every quarter to find more business, and that's what we need right now, where everyone's struggling to figure out how can we get this business, but we need somebody, and that's why I love reaching out to mentors. I love reaching out and actually paying for services because it makes sense, and I can't think of everything and do everything, right? There's also resources like yourself that are out there that can provide overnight success for a lot of hotels, right? And I appreciate that, Tammy. It's a pleasure. All right, so we're going to announce the winners, and I picked 4 winners. These guys have been really, really on top of their game when they're talking about commenting and being engaging on these in this live show here today. Guys, thank you so much to everybody that's joined us, and please share this with another GM so they can learn, or share this with your team. So forward this now to somebody else that they can learn this strategy, because guess what? They might want to go, you might want them to go and shop and do the parking lots, right? And maybe they can learn and understand, because guess what? They might want to be the GM soon, or maybe they want to improve their career, which I love too. So, all right, so the winners, and the first winner we have that's going to win the $50 smartguests.com gift card, and the oh my God, I forgot what I was going to say. And the exclusive prospecting guide that Tammy's giving away, and it's not published, it's exclusive for us. It is Monique Loki, and I don't know how to say your last name, Esete. I'm sorry if I crushed your name. I'm sorry about that. Congratulations, Monique. You did win the big prize. Also, we have Jan Rainey, Anna Harriman, and Kevin Wesley Smith. You guys have all also won a copy of the exclusive prospecting guide by Gillis Sales. And Tammy, can you just tell us really quickly what the prospecting guide is that they won?
So all the great sales tools and hacks we talked about today, we've put it in a guide broken out by market segment. So you're going to have this nice guide with infographics saying, if you want business from the university segment, this is what you need to do. If you want business from the cruise segment, and it is a playbook by market segment for how you hunt for business across the major market segments. And so it was a labor of love over COVID that we developed, and happy to be able to give Rupesh, your viewers, an exclusive view of that guide.
Tammy, thank you so much for joining us. We will talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys, what did you think about that episode? I loved it. I wrote down a bunch of tips. I know you did too. If you liked this show, hit the like button and let me know. Comment, let me know if you did actually like the show and if you'd like more of Tammy's insights, because she has a wealth of knowledge when we're talking about sales. And today I've been a little bit hoarse. I've been drinking a lot of water. I'm not sure what's going on with my throat, but I will be definitely better next week when we talk about revenue optimization for your hotel. All the strategies you need to optimize your revenue. And that's like a big giant thing that we're trying to work on right now as we go into budget season here in the next 2 months, where you're thinking about budgets for next year and figuring out what you need to do to create this sound budget that you're actually going to be hopefully profitable, or at least get to a point where you know how much you're going to spend and how much you're going to be making. And next week, we're going to talk about revenue optimization. And I'm excited about that. So guys, I'll see you next week. For the winners, please reach out to me directly. I will connect you and Tammy together. And guys, thank you so much for this opportunity to jump on the show. Guys, take care of each other, be safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Where's my background? Where's my background? There it is.